Okay, perfect. It works out. So,
Hi, thank you so much for having me, and thank you everybody for waiting. Like that patience goes a long way.
no problem. Okay, well, I'm just gonna jump in. So, thanks, Christine, for joining, and let me do a very quick intro of who you are.
Okay.
Okay, so Christina Kovalevich, a social media manager, content creator, TV hostess, ghostwriter,
Yes.
and author, and first runner-up at Miss USA Washington, and you are a publicist.
I wish it was USA. It was Miss Washington USA, but I'll take it. Hey, thank you. That's a fancy introduction. Sometimes you forget all the titles you carry. Should I do one about you?
Yeah, thank you.
No, thank you so much for having me. I truly am honored, and you've changed my life. I'm going to be straight up. I've worked with her, you guys, so if it worked for me, it's going to work for everybody listening. And we have to spread the good news, and we need to let other people receive what they need. So I'm really like honored, truly, to be able to lead this conversation today because one of the biggest things that we have broken off of me, we're going to be discussing today, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So drop in, what's your name? Let me know where you guys are all from, and any kind of questions, drop it in there as well, right?
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, today we want to talk about unrelenting standards, which is a very, very fancy two words, and it's a schema. So working together, we have, you've taught me, I've learned that many times we build up certain mental ways of thinking. And a lot of things that we do in life has a lot to do with how we think. And the way we think goes a lot back down to the way we were raised, the environment we're in, the parents we have, the friends we have, etc., etc. And so unrelenting standards is one of the most common schemas. That's a fancy word of how we're going to pretty much talk about a part of the way you think in your brain that a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck in.
Yep.
And when we started working together, I was just like, I don't understand why. And I would just hit a dead end, and I would sit there and I didn't know why, right? And so can you talk a little bit and explain to us what does unrelenting standards schema means?
Well, it's a fancy word. I think of the word, it's kind of like almost like impossible standards. I think maybe that's a little bit more understandable for people. And it's another word for it is hypercriticalness towards yourself and other people. So here's kind of this like situation entrepreneurs are in: high driven, highly skilled, multi-talented, detail oriented. I mean, they produce amazing things for a reason, and that's why, we have entrepreneurs that do amazing work. But the amount of stuff that they have to pump out, I think, is insane. And what we get sometimes caught up is, let's say when we're just beginning something, it's like, oh, is this good enough? Can it be better? And sometimes what happens is we slide from doing the best to has to be perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Healthy is excellent, good. My work comes from joy, self-esteem, pleasure, freedom. But the problem is when our worth and value starts to get a little bit tied up in how perfect I can produce things, we get super in trouble. And so here's the thing: it's internalized standards, which oftentimes do come from family background of what good is. It's like those kids that it's like, oh, you got an A, but it's not an A plus. And you hear that enough, and a kid starts to grow up to being like, yeah, on the outside they're driven, they're motivated, they do great work, but it starts to come kind of from like an unhealthy point. And I also every time I talk about schemas, let me say it like this: a schema is a framework, how we understand information. If I say, think of a tree where you're from, you have trees that look a little different from my area, but they're trees. Maladaptive, this is where it becomes a problem. We don't adjust. So if you think trees, a pine cone can fall and hit you and you're gonna die, you're gonna live life a lot different than I am around trees if I don't believe
Mm-hmm.
that. Or someone else who thinks it's the roots that get you tripped up or whatever, right? So same thing with like entrepreneurs. Uh, unrelenting or impossible standards. This might be perfectionism. This might be insane amount of like attention to detail. This might be you're consumed with doing things more and better and what. Basically, it starts to just kind of take over healthy freedom and drive.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in. I want you to give us some concrete examples because this is very beneficial. It's very educational. People are listening. They're like, whoa, somewhere out there so foreign and this applies to me. So just hang tight, you guys. We're gonna give you some great examples and you're gonna be able to paint a picture because pictures that we can paint in our heads, they really help us, right? So I'm gonna first give an example from my life because sometimes you guys see people on social media and they're like, wow, they're so perfect. And it's like, no, we're not. We all have issues that we're dealing with. And the more transparent and authentic we are, the more we become relatable. That's just that's my 2 cents for today. So unrelenting standards. For me personally, being somebody that comes from a very cultural background, so I was born in Eastern Europe, I was raised in America, and a lot of the ways I grew up, I went to college, I got my, double majors, I went off to have a great career, I left it, and then I went on to this entrepreneur path. Many times I would catch myself that something is off with me and the way I produce my work by the way my heart would be. It was like, I'm like about to do something. It's not even a healthy like nervousness. It's like, I look back, it was just high cortisol levels, high stress over the smallest thing in the world. And working with you, being, my entrepreneurial coach, we have come to realize that a lot of the ways I think and a lot of things that I produce heavily falls back on certain conversations, certain phrases that I've heard when I was being raised, either by parents, by relatives, by people I attended in the church, by the conversations in the environments. It's not a one person thing. It was everything in my circle was telling me, if you don't do it like this, you're just not that great. And we develop these mental mind, these schemas. And then when we step out as potentially as moms, right? This applies into all spheres. As a sister, as a daughter, as a friend, as an entrepreneur, it goes into all spheres. You're constantly high cortisol levels because you're trying to deliver at a certain level. And it held me back. It really did. And I'm so glad I'm past it. Now I can talk about my mess ups. I can talk about my issues. I can talk about my mistakes. And I'm not like, it's not even a bad thing. Like, I'm not perfect, okay, girl, because of me being able to deal with all of that, I finally got to do everything I've ever wanted to do. When we started working with you, you're like, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to be in front of the TV. She's like, what does that look like? I don't know. Okay, we finished mid-May, and literally like 2 weeks later, I get to go on a red carpet and host a ton of interviews. And I guarantee you, girl, if I have not worked with you, I would have been hyperventilating, doubting myself, not thinking I'm good enough, not thinking I'm worthy. And, oh, how dare you go in front of the TV? You think you're that great. And, it's like, it's crazy how much the things that we've absorbed, they do really follow us into our entrepreneur path. So, question for you, now that I'm done talking, how does it get in the way for success for other entrepreneurs? I really want some concrete examples from your personal experience working as a coach.
So it's what you said. We pick up these worth value statements. If you do better here, if you do more, or again, if we're entrepreneurs and we want to produce good product, that's good. But if we are doing everything to avoid criticism, and it takes away from our ability to just be free and creative and make mistakes, here's how it shows up. I've known entrepreneurs, especially the startup people, where, okay, when I do this better version, where this first version of this product has this and this, when I take this class and that class, and it's like people never really even just go out and launch. They're just too busy doing more in the background because they're afraid of just showing up as is. Does that make sense? So Christina, you're kind of glitching a little bit. I hope your service is good. You there? Oh my. Anyways, let me know, Christina, if you can hear me, but let me give out a couple other examples. I'll have kids, people who take a lot of classes, who continue to do more and more work. So the problem is perfectionism is never going to happen. It's not possible. And when people don't give themselves freedom to make mistakes, to grow, to learn, that's it. Can you hear me? Oh, Christina, you're glitching. I see your comment. Oh no. Hold on. Let's see what happened. You there? No, coming back. Oh no. Oh my. Well, I guess I'll just share a couple more things while Christina's service hopefully gets back on. So here's the thing, guys. You, oh, oh my. Christina's service is bad. Oh, is it better? I see 2 thumbs up. Oh my. There we go. I think you're back. Oh my. And paused again. Can someone let me know in the comments if Christina's frozen to you guys as well? Because she is for me. Hmm. Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, so she's gonna get back on. Thank you guys so much for helping me. Dang, technology. Okay, thanks guys so much. So here's another thing. It's like if let's say I had an unrelenting standard, which as an entrepreneur, yes, I've been working on that. If let's say I just had this experience with Christina and she froze. If I'm like, oh my gosh, that was so embarrassing, I'm never going to do that again. That's going to impact my ability to show up and do my work. And so it's important to just look at things as it's a learning experience. I can forgive myself because remember, the schema is grounded in hypercriticalness of yourself and other people. And if you're extremely critical and you can't give yourself grace to just grow and learn and mess up and use that information to pivot, you're not going to be able to go further. So even though this little live kind of had a glitch, and I'm trying to accept her back in, there we go. I'm still planning on doing lives, and we're just going to learn from this experience.
I'm back. Can you hear me and see me?
Yes. There you
Okay.
go.
I'm sitting here on my floor, and I'm really sorry. I actually don't know what's happening. But continue.
Okay, I just gave them a rundown that if I had a maladaptive schema of unrelenting standards, I'd be so embarrassed of this glitch up that I'd never do it again. But that doesn't control me. So
Oh, girl, look at you. No, it's so true. Somebody else would be freaking out, and we're just like, it's all good. Continue. So awesome. Thank you for all your examples. I really, really appreciate it. Now, what can people do to do excellent work without it becoming a barrier? Because everybody here watching wants to execute work at an excellent way.
Well, I think the common theme of what I've re-articulated this entire time is this. You need to show grace and love to yourself in a good way, okay? If you believe you are God's child, you are made perfectly, you have value and worth, just use that and move forward. You're not gaining points for approval. You're not avoiding criticism and shame. No, you're moving along the path that God has for you, and you're going to do what you need to do. So, oh my, this live situation that you're struggling. Miss Christina disappeared again. And I don't know how to. Are you back?
I have no idea what's happening. I truly, I'm sorry. I don't know if it's Instagram, I have full bars on Wi-Fi and everything, so this is weird. It might be Instagram because, okay.
Well, let me finish up and I'm going to wrap it up because this is a
Okay.
glitchy today. So, my if you are coming from a position of you are healed, you are whole, you are good, do things in freedom and joy, and recognize that if you're an entrepreneur, I think the definition of that is exploration and play. You learn things, you do things. You cannot learn until you do wrong. You don't know what you like oftentimes until you realize what you don't like. So just look at it as like if you are a parent and your child is learning and playing, um, give them the freedom and spontaneity to do their own thing. Don't get in the way. Don't suppress this child's ability to learn and grow. So anyways, identify first of all if you are kind of ruled by some form of perfectionism, if like, oh my gosh, if it's not perfect, I can't do it, I can't release, I can't step out, or I need to do more, bigger, better. If it's like taking away from your joy and mental health, okay, that's a problem. And once you identify that maybe this is a maladaptive schema, the next thing is learn how to balance out. You don't need to go 100 miles an hour if you could do it better, more smoothly at 60 miles an hour. Look at where you need to balance out your life, because I don't think God put us on this earth to just slave through and be like, look what I did. I got A plus 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 for everything. And I hated life. I don't think that's what God wants for you. So just encouraging you guys, have freedom, play, be joyful. The Bible says be childlike. And in that state, you will do a lot better than you having insane standards that you don't reach and you just get burnt out and you start to hate life. Please don't do that.
Yeah. I'm going to jump in, considering that the connection is now great. One of the biggest things in our culture right now that I hear often is the hustle culture. And I think the hustle culture has now transferred into a grinding culture. And people are encouraged to grind, work hard, grind. And I have learned that that just doesn't really work. It really doesn't. Sooner or later, something is going to really suffer. It's either going to be your mental health, it's going to be your physical health, it might be your family relations. Finding that balance and being okay with even slowing down and asking yourself, why do I do what I do? Why do I feel like I need to constantly perform at this level and do this much and go this far? It really helps you as an entrepreneur to kind of find the right answers to the hard questions. They're simple questions, but they're the right questions. And so when I took the time to really slow down this year, and I actually became very centered and balanced, and I said no to a lot of things, I was able to, I mean, I gotta admit, I think I got sucked just slightly into that hustling culture, and then I was able to break off of everything. Like, why do I put these unrealistic standards and expectations of delivering? And it's almost like borderline performing. Like, why so? And when you dive deeper and you figure out the root cause, you're then able to just show up in your best light, in your best energy, and you're able to really produce work from a place of freedom, from peace and rest, and from there, success follows. Like, if people were to really ask me now, like, oh, what's your number one advice to, I'd be like, no, just hire her right there up above me, and just figure out your internal, your mind, why you do what you do. Don't let somebody tell you, oh, good for you, that's for you, it doesn't really apply to me. That's just a trap that a lot of people fall into. We actually really need each other to figure things out. And the more you have knowledge and you know who you are, why you do what you do, the better off you are, because you're actually in control, of your mind. Like, schemas and things in your mind don't control you. So that's kind of what I want to leave with everybody with. And thank you for all the comments. Do we have any questions for our expert here?
Let me add one more thing. I like what you said, this grind hustle culture. So, like, I understand there's a high level of work you have to produce. That's why not everyone's an entrepreneur. I get that. But the problem is sometimes that covers up for an addiction called being a workaholic. I think in society, alcoholic is like, oh, that's horrible. But it's like, how many families does like workaholism destroy. I mean, that's another topic. I don't want to go into that, but my point is things might look on the outside more appropriate when we say, I'm just grinding, I'm just hustling, I'm just doing X, Y, and Z. When in reality, no, you have some internal stuff that if you check your heart, you're being propelled for the wrong reasons. And I will say this, oftentimes, well, actually, every time, this schema is always partnered with something else, which I'm not going to go too deep into that, but it's like the more we unpack, and I do that with my coaching clients, the more we realize, oh, this connects to this. And once this activates, this triggers, and we compensate by doing that. It all starts to make sense when we map out. So to my entrepreneurs, you guys are amazing. Please don't burn yourself out. And if you need some help figuring that out, let me know. But the last thing I want you to do is do all this work and hate it. That to me is just way too sad.
Yeah, yeah. So if somebody's listening is like, yo, I want to learn more, like just I want to like what's the first step they should do to get started with you? And what does that look like?
You can DM me, you can email me, connect@YelenaTalks.com. Very responsive to my emails or DMs. Here's the thing, guys. You want to learn more info? You can go ahead and Google this, Unrelenting Standards Schema. You'll find lots of info. Okay, I'm not hiding that. It's just if you want someone to dig in and give you an up-close approach of like what's going on, and like I said, this affects this and triggers and coping styles and family origins, then you know what to do with yourself specifically and uniquely. So let me know if you need some help, and I will talk to you about the programs and packages I offer for that.
You're amazing. Thank you for changing my life. Yelena, you're a gem. You're an angel from heaven sent down below. I don't really see any questions, so I think we are good. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. I know today has been a little bit technically difficult, but I still believe that there was a lot of great packed out information. And until next time, we'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.